The fluorescent lights of the Stuyvesant prep locker room buzzed like angry hornets as I slammed my fist into Gregory's gut, the thud echoing off the cold tile walls. He crumpled against the benches, gasping, his glasses skittering across the floor like a scared rabbit. But it was his eyes, those wide hazel eyes, that hit me hardest, not with hate, but with a quiet plea that twisted something deep in my chest. "Why, Kenneth? What did I ever do to you?" He whispered, blood trickling from his split lip, and in that split second, the whole world narrowed to the impossible truth I'd buried for years. He was the only one who ever really saw me. It started small, the way these things do in the pressure cooker of Manhattan's elite high schools, where trust funds are currency and vulnerability is a death sentence. I was Kenneth Harrington, son of Victor Harrington, the hedge fund titan whose face graced Forbes covers like a smug god. At 17, I had the world. A penthouse overlooking Central Park, a black Amex with no limit, and a posse of sycophants who laughed at my every joke, no matter how cruel. Bullying Gregory Hayes? It was just Tuesday. He was the scholarship kid from Queens, the one with the thrift store polos and the faint scent of Subway exhaust clinging to him like a badge of shame. Quiet, bookish, always sketching in the margins of his notebooks. Dragons with broken wings, cities crumbling under storm clouds. I called him Ghost because he faded into the background, invisible until I decided to make him bleed. But it wasn't random. God, no. It was surgical, a ritual to keep the demons at bay. My old man, Victor, had drilled it into me since I could walk. Harringtons don't bend, Ken. We break others first. He'd built his empire on hostile takeovers, ruining lives with a signature, and he expected the same ruthlessness from his heir. Weakness? It got you eaten alive. And me? I was weak in ways that could shatter everything. The dreams that woke me sweating in silk sheets, tangled in thoughts of boys' hands instead of girls' curves. The stolen glances in the showers after lacrosse practice, pulse hammering like a war drum. I was a Harrington for Christ's sake, straight as Wall Street or so the world demanded. So I lashed out at Gregory because he was safe. No connections, no comeback. Every shove in the hallway, every whispered slur in the cafeteria, it was me screaming into the void. I'm not broken. I'm not. The first real crack came during junior year in Mr. Delaney's AP Lit class, where we dissected The Great Gatsby like it was an autopsy on our own gilded cages. Gregory sat 2 rows back, his pen flying across pages while the rest of us doodled or scrolled Insta. I hated how he shone without trying, how his essays came back with red-inked praise while mine got curt nods. One afternoon, as rain lashed the floor-to-ceiling windows of our Upper East Side classroom, Delaney paired us for a project on hidden identities. "Explore the masks we wear," he said, eyes twinkling like he knew too much. I laughed it off, but inside, panic clawed up my throat. We met at the New York Public Library, that Beaux-Arts behemoth with its marble lions standing guard like silent judges. Gregory showed up early, backpack slung over one shoulder, a thermos of what smelled like weak coffee in hand. "I brought notes," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. His voice soft but steady, like the hum of the A train at midnight. I slouched in, all attitude, flipping a lacrosse ball between my palms. "Let's make this quick, Hayes. I've got a thing." But he didn't flinch. He spread out his sketches, Gatsby as a fractured mirror, Daisy as a wilted rose, and started talking. "Not about the book. About us. You ever feel like you're playing a part?" he asked, not looking up, his pencil shading in shadows that looked too much like bruises. I froze, the ball slipping from my fingers to roll under the table. "What, like method acting for the Grammys?" I shot back, forcing a smirk. But he met my eyes then, and damn if it didn't feel like he was peering straight through the armor. "No. Like, hiding who you really are. Because if you don't, it'll destroy everything." His voice cracked on the last word, and for a heartbeat, the library's hush wrapped around us like a confession booth. I wanted to bolt, but my feet stayed rooted. "You're full of shit, Ghost," I muttered, but my throat burned. That night, alone in my room with the city skyline mocking me through the glass walls, I couldn't shake it. Gregory's words looped like a bad remix, syncing with the forbidden ache I'd nursed since freshman year. Watching him change in the locker room, the curve of his shoulder blades like wings clipped too soon, terrified me. Love? In this world of mine, where Dad's disappointment dinners ended with threats of boarding school exile. No, better to hate him. So the next day I escalated. Tripped him in the hall, watched his books scatter like fallen soldiers. Freak! I hissed, and the crowd tittered, my throne secure. But his eyes, God, those eyes, held no anger, just a sorrow that mirrored my own, and it gutted me. Weeks blurred into a haze of midterms and mixers, but the project pulled us together like magnets with reversed poles. We'd sneak into empty classrooms after hours, the school a ghost town under the sodium glow of street lamps filtering through blinds. He'd ramble about his mom, a nurse in Astoria pulling doubles to keep him in plaid ties and second-hand dreams. She's the reason I fight, he'd say, fingers tracing the edges of his sketches. I'd nod, thawing despite myself, sharing scraps. Dad's rages after market crashes, the way he'd smash crystal decanters and blame me for not being man enough. One evening, as snow dusted the quad outside, he reached across the desk and brushed my hand. Accidental electric. Time stuttered. Sorry, he murmured, pulling back, but the air hummed with what-ifs. Panicked, the bullying ramped up. Locker pranks with rotting lunch meat, graffiti on his stall door spelling out slurs that clawed at my soul even as I scrawled them. My friends. Empty suits like Chad and Preston. Egged it on, high-fiving over owning the loser. But Gregory? He endured, head high, until the night of the winter formal. The ballroom at the plaza, all crystal chandeliers and champagne flutes. A glittering cage for the trust fund set. I spotted him across the room, rented tux hanging loose on his frame, dancing awkwardly with some girl from debate club who looked as miserable as he did. Jealousy hit like a sucker punch, irrational, volcanic. I cornered him by the coat check, the bass thumping through the walls like my heartbeat. Having fun, ghost? Slumming it with the normals. I sneered, voice slurred from too many stolen sips of scotch. He turned, face pale under the makeup lights, and for once, fire flashed in his eyes. What is this really about, Kenneth? Me? Or you? The words landed like shrapnel. I grabbed his arm, dragging him out into the service alley, the city's winter bite slicing through our cummerbunds. Rain started then, a biblical downpour that turned the pavement to black mirrors. You don't know shit about me? I growled, shoving him against the wall, fist cocked. He didn't fight back. Instead, he fumbled in his pocket, pulling out a crumpled photo. Yellowed at the edges, two boys, maybe 8 years old, grinning gap-toothed on a Coney Island beach. Arms slung around each other, carefree under a cotton candy sky. My breath caught. That face, the smaller one, freckled and fierce, was me. Before Dad's mergers swallowed summers whole. Before the tutors and the expectations turned playdates into liabilities. And the other boy, Gregory, Kenny and Greggy, inseparable until Dad deemed him a distraction, and shipped me to Andover for proper influences. The hidden truth crashed over me like the rain. He'd remembered. All these years, the bullying, the masks. It was him holding the thread to who I'd been before the world carved me hollow. You were my best friend? I choked, fists dropping, knees buckling as I slid down the wall beside him. Sobs racked me, ugly and un-Harrington, mingling with the storm. He knelt too, hesitant, then wrapped his arms around me. Strong, unyielding. I still am, if you'll let me, he whispered, his cheek against my hair, warm against the cold. In that alley, with the distant wail of sirens underscoring our unraveling, I let go. The kiss came fierce and desperate, tasting of salt and second chances, not lust but lifeline. A promise that maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild from ruins. But truths like that, they don't stay hidden. Word leaked. Chad, that snake, snapping a blurry pic from the alley's mouth, selling it to the school rag for clout. By Monday, the whispers were a roar. Harrington's a fag. Dad found out over breakfast, his face purpling like overripe plums as he hurled the Times across the table. You'll go to conversion camp or you'll be on the street. Your choice, boy. Betrayal burned brightest from him. The man who'd taught me to crush weakness, now wielding it like a blade against his own blood. I packed a duffel that night, heart splintering, and slipped out to Gregory's walk-up in Queens, the subway a rattling confessional carrying me from Gold Tower to Brick Tenement. He let me in without a word, his mom's floral couch sagging under our weight as we talked till dawn. No grand gestures, just truths laid bare. His own fears of coming out in a neighborhood where queer was a curse, the sketches he'd hidden of us as knights in shadowed forests. We weren't fixed, far from it. Therapy sessions in fluorescent clinics, school counselors navigating the fallout, Dad's lawyers circling like vultures. The climax hit at the spring assembly, Dad storming the auditorium mid-speech on resilience, demanding I denounce it all publicly. Spotlights hot as judgment, the whole school watching. Gregory stood from the bleachers, mic in hand, voice steady. Kenneth's not broken, he's brave, and he's mine. The room erupted, jeers, applause, chaos. Dad lunged, but security held him back, his empire cracking under the glare of viral videos. I took the mic, voice raw. This is who I am, and it's enough. We walked out hand in hand, the doors slamming like freedom's echo. It's been a year now, since that rain-soaked revelation. Dad's in rehab, not for me but for the booze-fueled rages that mirrored his own buried shames. Turns out even titans have ghosts. Gregory and I, we're at NYU, sharing a shoebox apartment in the village, sketches and lacrosse sticks cluttering the floor. It's not fairy tale perfect. Fights over money, nights when old scars itch, but it's human, real. In a city that chews dreams and spits bones, we've carved a space that's ours. Coffee runs at dawn, stolen kisses under the Brooklyn Bridge, love that's fought for, not funded. Sometimes, in the quiet, I trace the photo's edges, faded but unbroken. We were boys once, lost in the sand. Now, we're men, choosing each other over the fall. And in America's relentless grind, from Wall Street wolves to subway poets, that's the real win. Seeing someone truly and being seen back. No masks, just us.